3:40 p.m. We are now calling the Joint Budget and Finance Committee meeting and Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Is Monday, September 23rd, 2024. Council Abbott, have you had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Yes, ma'am. 2024. Council Abbott, have you had a chance to look? Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the minutes have passed from the last meeting. Next is consideration of the consent agenda. Councilor Abbott, do you have any items you would like to place on consent?
I do. First item is on page, well, two items. Items 4 and 5 on page 1. Items 6 and 8 on page 2. Item 9 on page 3. Items 11 and 12 on page 4. And item 14 on page 5. And item 19 on page 7. I think that's all. Yes, that's all.
And administration is withdrawing item number 21. Okay, so those items for consent are items 4 and 5 on page 1, items 6 and 8 on page 2, item 9 on page 3, items 11 and 12 on page 4, item 14 on page 5, and then item 19 on page 7. Okay.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda has passed. If your item was placed on consent, you can enjoy the rest of this lovely afternoon. Otherwise, the first item is item number 7 on page 2. An ordinance, there's only one person. An ordinance to amend the grants fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 by appropriating $21,681,306 and $1,842,666 to Department of Transportation for the RAISE grant per award received to support an urban trail, complete street, and improved transit corridor, and to amend the grants match fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 by appropriating $912,570 in matching funds with commitment from Freshwater Land Trust. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Christina Argo. I serve as the Deputy Director of Strategic Projects for the Department of Transportation.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this
project? Sure. Yes, Camila just handed out the executive summary that has a great overview of the project. This is the RAISE grant that we were awarded last year. It's made up of two components. So there's an east-west component that travels from 20th Street downtown along 4th and 5th Avenue North and Graymont Avenue and connects out to Legion Park. And that is one of a key corridors identified in the Red Rock Action Plan that will contribute to that 36-mile trail loop that they're working towards building. And then the second component of the project runs along 16th Street North, and it connects City Walk Birmingham all the way to Morris Avenue, right through the heart of the Civil Rights District, and to the Birmingham Intermodal Facility.
And when is the estimated completion date?
We're just getting started with our consultant. So I think a conservative estimate would probably be 4 years.
Okay. Okay. How many miles of improvements?
We are at, I've got it in here somewhere, 3.16 miles of improvement. So that's a combination of multi-use paths, transit improvements, sidewalks, streetscape, bicycle lanes, trees.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
Well, I do now that I see this drawing. Okay, how much of what is on the drawing is going to be constructed with this money in 4 years? And how much of it is future? This is,
future,
I mean, how much of it is gonna be after 4 years?
this
This
is it.
is the whole deal, so.
This is it, yes.
The freshwater land trust future trail is just as future as the rest of it is.
What piece are you referring to?
See this drawing?
Yes?
Okay,
So that orange line, is that
Yes.
what you're referring to?
uh-huh,
That is not part of our project. We're showing that in context to what it connects to, what it will connect to is in part of their trail plan. So the red line is the piece that's gonna get built as part of this project.
okay, and not the blue line.
And the blue line, apologies.
Okay, so the red and the blue are going to be constructed and the others are dreams.
Plans, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, dreams. Okay,
Can we get a copy for Counselor Williams? Do you have
Yes.
another one? Okay.
Absolutely.
And then do you have how many more copies do you have? Oh, no, I just want to make sure Wardine has one since
Three
she's
more.
not here. Okay. Oh, you got one. And then we could save one for Wardine. I don't think I have any questions. Counselor Williams, do you have any questions? Okay. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 10. This is the Jefferson County Family Resource Center Restore, under which Restore will offer support services for a minimum of 120 court-involved youth, ages 16 to 19 and their families. The objective is to reduce criminal activity involving young people residing in the city through proactive, strength-based, trauma-informed mental health services and case management services geared to help build on their potential for success. The term of the agreement is for 1 year and the funding amount is $225,000. Okay,
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name
Good
is Uche Bean, and I serve as the Director of Community Safety Initiatives for the Mayor's Office for the City of Birmingham. Today, we have Carrie Buntain, who serves as the Executive Director of the Jefferson County Family Resource Center, who manages our Restore program, our juvenile reentry program, and I wanted her to speak to the successes of our work.
Thank you, Uche. So I did make, I have two other folders for Counselor Abbott, and I made one for Counselor Clark, but we can make a copy for Counselor Williams. So what you will see in front of you is a rundown of the difference that since implementing Restore in March 2023 has made in our community. As I'm sure y'all remember, in 2022, 32% of the homicides committed were committed by those who had prior family court involvement. At this point, in the past 18 months, that number has been reduced by 80%. We have had an 80% reduction in youth up to the age of 22 charged with murder. We also track the victims. Unfortunately, we had to, our presentation is up to date. We did include the loss of a 21-year-old that we had this Saturday. And the reduction in victims aged 13 to 22 has gone down by 61%. So one thing I will state on the second page, it says data is from October 1, 2024 to date. I meant to say October 1, 2023 to date. But we were asked by the city to serve 120 youth. We ended up serving 249. 118 of those were not court ordered. They were community referrals, which is incredible because that is prevention. That is ensuring that these youth do not go through the family court process, which is exactly what Restore was initially built for, was for our high-risk kids. There is an outline of all of the services provided, which resulted in 39 of our participants successfully completing probation or receiving case closure.
hold on, Counselor, we're gonna get you a folder.
Sorry?
Who took I thought she had 3 in her hand, like 2 in her hand. Oh, it's okay.
Oh, sorry.
That helps.
The last time we reported to the city council was in February. So what you will also see is that 87% of our clients live in the Birmingham city limits. That is broken down by their addresses. The one that is most difficult to discern is 35215 because that covers Clay, Tarrant, Burkett, Irwin, Huffman, Hueytown, Centerpoint. It's a lot. So there was a breakdown of numbers that we provided in February of how many clients we were working with, and now clients to date, how many we are working with, and the increase since February. And while that increase is substantial, especially for several of our districts, what that to me means is that they are actively engaging with our program. One of the things that you will see as we move through the program is the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform, and some of their best practices indicate that when you have a program that makes 4 to 6 contacts a week with a client, they are more likely to succeed. So even if we're talking about our court-involved youth, or if we're talking about our community-involved youth, the numbers are going up, but that is also reflected in the amount of youth that are receiving jobs. We have 13 participants that have registered to vote. We've got 53 participants that are now back enrolled in educational programs, 42 receiving clothing assistance, 35 getting jobs. So a lot of real serious growth. And what this also means to me is that the program is working. We're keeping our kids off our street, we're keeping them busy, and the most incredible part to me when it comes to the community referrals is it's very much some of our youth who are 16, 17, they have their cousin, they have their friend, they have their buddy. Hey, you should come to this workshop with me. We have workshops on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We feed them because we know food insecurity is huge. And we also have a couple of interns that are Albert Schweitzer Fellows in counseling, and they are able to offer one-on-one services should anything that we discuss be a trigger. So as I was saying, back to the Institute of Criminal Justice Reform, they came down here in August, and they were extremely enlightening. And a couple of things that we really took away from that was they did an 18-month point-in-time study, which is the exact same time that Restore has been around, and revealed the average current age of murder victims and perpetrators is now between the ages of 30 and 32. So the biggest thing I take away from that, however, is that the majority of our youth, especially in July when we had that horrible, horrible weekend, every single one of our kids had a family member that was lost. So now what we are trying to do is figure out how do we implement mental health, how do we address trauma, how do we talk about the 5 stages of grief, how do we talk about not retaliating, how do we really involve the mental health aspect, especially with kids who may or may not have very strong family backgrounds. So the rest of it is just how we have made it work, the pivots that we have made it, that we have had to do to make sure that we are meeting their clients where they are. Recidivism right now in Bessemer is 32% for juveniles. It was 68% in Birmingham for juveniles. Our recidivism rate for kids that are court involved for Restore is 10%. That's my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Abbott, do you have any questions?
I don't, but I appreciate this information. It'll take a while to read it,
Yes, ma'am.
and maybe in the future we could get the information like before the meeting, and that would be helpful. But if I have questions, I know where to find you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
You know what's the most disturbing is this slide right here, where kids anonymously were describing violence in their community, what they thought caused it, what can you prevent it, what does survival look like. And it really makes me sad to hear getting out of Birmingham is one of their solutions. Or staying in the house, minding your own business. And it's also funny that a lot of them said the same things we've been saying about putting the permit requirement for guns.
And these are 12-year-olds, and these were 3 different groups aside. So we had 3 kids from 7 different housing authorities and groups. So we had 3 different groups that happened over 3 different days. And every single one of them, all of the 12-year-olds were the ones that were saying, bring back the permits. I mean, so we asked them, how many of y'all get up and watch the news? And like 80% of them, I don't get up and watch the news. And I'm like, wow, okay, these kids are for real. They are paying
Yeah.
attention and they are aware. But yes, ma'am, staying inside. We talked about social media and how it's a double-edged sword. They want to know what's going on in their community so they know where not to go, but they don't really want to be involved in social media because it's so toxic.
What would be the ideal budget for the Restore program?
The ideal budget? Oh, oh, wow. Well, 225 takes care of 2 Restore coordinators. I would love to double that, and I would love to be able to offer more to our kids. When we talk about Common Ground, the difference between Common Ground and Restore is most of our kids, our 16 to 19-year-olds, are not in traditional school. It's a crossover from COVID. They have IEPs. They don't function well in high anxiety. Or with a lot of people around, so they're in non-traditional programs. So they're not able to get the Common Ground. Now their younger siblings may, but that only strengthens the family to me because now they both are getting the HEAT curriculum and the family can now communicate on the same level. But our 16 to 19-year-olds are still really struggling. They're suffering with COVID learning loss and they need much more one-on-one guidance and counseling and mentoring. If I had more people to do that, that would be incredible.
And then mental health access to youth, what kind of support what does support look like for you?
Well, it's really difficult. So we may start working with a 17-year-old, get him back on his meds, get everything going well, get him in an educational program, get him into a job. He turns 19 and is no longer eligible for Medicaid. So we're especially talking young men of color. So now we're going back to self-medication, which puts you in a criminal environment. So what we have been doing is, as I said, we've been trying to get interns in LPC interns from Montevallo. We're looking at hiring possibly an LPC. A lot of our kids do have access to mental health, but the waiting lists are so long, and they're not long enough. They're too long, especially when you're suffering trauma from losing multiple family members. So we, try to do the best we can with our interns and try to do the best we can to hopefully be able to get this LPC on staff, who will be able to at least be a stopgap and an immediate crisis interventionist.
Okay. Okay. Council Williams, do you have any questions? Okay. Being quiet today. Okay. Council Abbott.
Yeah, I do have one. How many of the young people that you're helping are from homeless families where they're living in their car or somewhere else?
The amount of transient people that we have is a lot. I wouldn't necessarily say homeless because they jump. They may go stay with sister. They may go stay with mom. So under HUD, that's not necessarily homeless. But we do have several families that are living at extended stay hotels. And there are several different reasons for that, but quite a lot are transient, which makes it difficult for the schools to keep up, for the kids to keep up, for food to be, if you're living in a hotel and you don't have a refrigerator or anything like that, it makes it difficult to eat. So we're strong into McKinney-Vento and that's the national federal law, that's the federal law that requires schools to provide transportation in the event of a displaced family. So we have a lot of that. It used to be that you could go on the other side of town and live with grandma for a minute and get out of the heat, but now a lot of the families are living in the same home. And so not only are we seeing an influx in inter-family violence, but also there's no real way to escape that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that opportunity to partner with HABD maybe to see if we could place these families?
There is, and in the Restore Expansion Grant, we are partners with HABD. But once you are evicted from a HUD-funded, even in California, if you're evicted from a HUD-funded place, you're still not eligible here. And so we look at a lot of, one, there's just a shortage of housing, which means that the majority of Section 8 is located in 35215, which is why you get all these numbers here. But yeah, we've been working with HABD, but they are moving away from communities and more into Section 8, which makes it a lot difficult because there's such a shortage of Section 8 housing. And I will also note that a lot of our youth have kids. So that's another
believe you.
element that we're having. I would say 60% of our young men have at least one child. So how do you teach a 15-year-old, 16-year-old who's never really been parented how to parent and how to co-parent and how to negotiate and discuss and communicate with that child's mother? And so that's one thing that we're really focusing on as well.
Okay, Council Williams.
What's you guys' overall budget, and where does that primarily come from?
The overall budget is $225,000 and it comes from the city.
Oh, so the whole program is just 225?
Yeah.
From the city, yes.
I thought that, I
We
thought that had
have-
other,
We do have a federal expansion grant that has allowed us to expand to include 4 more coordinators and allows us to reduce the age of the youth that we're dealing with from 11 to 15 instead of just 16 to 19. So we're just waiting for that funding to be a little more streamlined so that we can expand accordingly.
The DOJ grant is a reimbursable structure. So we have to submit invoices and then follow certain guidelines with the DOJ in order to reimburse the program. So just standard flat out budget is
okay, so I don't know why, for some reason I thought that Jefferson, since this was with I thought Jefferson
Yeah.
County was,
It's a county program, but it's city funded.
So let me, to be
Contributing.
fair, Jefferson County Family Resource Center is a 501c3 nonprofit. We just happen to live inside of Family Court in kind. So that allows us access to our kids and to their families and eliminates how many times they got to come up there. They can meet with 3 or 4 different providers, but it is not funded by the county at all.
gotcha, thank you.
Okay. All right, is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes, thank you. Next
Yeah.
item is item number 13. This is an agreement for consulting services between the city and the Board of Education and IMC Financial Consulting, under which Birmingham Board of Education, IMC Financial Consulting will implement a financial literacy initiative called the Financial Freedom Project to provide financial literacy and financial education to Birmingham City Schools for a term of 1 year and for an amount not to exceed $1 million.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to the other esteemed members of the council, to council administration, to mayor's administration, and to individuals of the public. I'm Galvin Billups. Today I have the pleasure of serving as the director for the Department of Youth Services. As you've indicated before you today is a request for approval and for consideration of moving to full council, the agreement that provides $1 million in funding to support 20 Birmingham City schools through the Birmingham Financial Freedom Project, an initiative of IMC Financial Consulting led under the direction of Isaac Cooper. This great program offers financial literacy and comprehensive student supports to families, to parents, to faculty members under established national financial literacy standards. It includes educational workshops, professional development, events, and mirror services that has been up under the previous agreement in 23 and 24. Joining me today is Mikhail, I said that right, Oliver. I've been trying to pronounce the name, but Mikhail Oliver and D.A. O'Neill of IMC, who can provide further information and insights to any programmatic questions. But I'll just start to see if you have any questions first.
Okay, Council Abbott?
Well, I was curious to know how things have been going in the past.
Sure, I'll allow them to highlight some of the accomplishments.
Definitely. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Mikkel Brand-Oliver. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Financial Freedom Project. So a couple of highlights from the previous 2 years. We've seen consecutive double-digit gains with our elementary school students, middle school, and high school students from pre- and post-test. So that's before they engage in our curriculum experience. What do they already know compared to after they've had their experience? Double-digit gains across all those grade bands. We have had, at this point, $1 million worth of student loans forgiven for faculty and staff through our workshop specific on the public service loan forgiveness waiver. We've had over 770 participants at our workshops. That includes faculty and staff and parents and caregivers. We've had over 400 high school students complete our program. And when you think about the Numeracy Act and the mandated personal finance course for high schools, we're supporting that effort as well. So that's a few of our highlights thus far.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Council Williams?
So for the Numeracy Act that you just mentioned, is financial education not now mandatory?
Is that, yes, a personal finance course. I believe high school students will be tested upon graduation based on a personal finance course that they'll have to take.
So since the state requires the Board of Education to provide this, why are we doing this?
A few things to stipulate. One is it's been the priority of the administration to try to make sure that we provide comprehensive services, not only to just students, but to parents and faculty and staff. And so we've been doing it. Number one, the state, that's the first thing. The second thing is, I would probably mention that the state does have a minimum, but we're trying to exceed the minimum, and these services have been provided to do such. So we're covering things that may not be required by the state, including things such as cryptocurrencies, loans, credit, a whole list of other financial services that we are providing that the state is not requiring in this minimum. Sure.
And because we're starting in elementary school, we can't wait until high school. When we've interviewed students, our high school students, when we've talked to faculty, when we've talked to parents, they all say we wish we had this sooner and we wish we had this in school. So we're starting in elementary school, building onto middle school. So by the time they get to high school, they're well equipped and this information isn't new. We also have a culturally relevant program, which that means students are being taught by people who look like them, who know the communities that they come from, speak the language that they speak as well, and that makes a difference. It's a transformational program. It isn't just transactional.
So the test that you guys mentioned, is that a test that you guys, or you said you had increases in every band, but is that a test that you guys administer?
Yes, and it's directly aligned to the standards, the financial standards that we're using for grades 4, grade 8, and grade 12. That's connected to the curriculum that we also teach.
How much did we just spend on Restore? $225,000?
Yeah.
After this weekend and seeing what happened and seeing only 225 going to Restore and seeing $1 million going to something that the state requires the Board of Education already to do, I don't, whatever. I'm not a voting member of this committee.
I understand your concerns. That is concerning about Restore, but I do know financial literacy does help youth getting an understanding, because, you know, I didn't know about financial literacy as grave parents I had until I got to college, to tell you the truth. And we did some stuff in middle school, and the most we had was like Rich Dad Poor Dad as a book. So I think.
And just access to opportunity, and there's a direct, indirect link to some of the criminal justice reform. Were you going to speak on?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in reference to your question, Mr. Williams, we've also been actively meeting with Birmingham City Schools as well to outline a way for this to go under their budget moving forward. We're just laying the groundworks in year one of this program. Approximately 40% of the resources that we received from you guys went to software and technology. Year two, we went from 6 to 20 schools, so a lot of that went to personnel. And now what we're doing is making sure that we have asynchronous material, which is curriculum that can be taught without someone in class at all times as well. So we've been building something that we are seeing or hoping that can last, outlive us over time. So that, just want to throw that in there as well.
Thank you. I mean, that does clarify some things for me. It's Region says that they're in all Birmingham City Schools with junior achievement. Do y'all coordinate with them?
Yeah, so we have Regions volunteers in all of our classrooms. We provide them an onboarding volunteer training to prepare them to be in our classrooms in elementary, middle, and high school. So we do work with Regions.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Council Abbott, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good.
And what schools are you in? Are you in all the schools now? What schools aren't you in?
Dia, you can speak to that.
So of the 42 Birmingham, we're in 20 Birmingham City Schools currently, all 7 high schools, and then off the top of my head, I can't speak to all the middle school and elementary. Got it right here. All right, so Jackson Olin, Carver, Woodline, Huffman, Parker, Ramsey, Winona, Hudson, Southampton, WJ Christian, Wilkerson, Jones Valley, Putnam, Norwood Elementary, Huffman Academy, Glen Iris, Avondale, Sun Valley, Robinson, and the virtual school.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of those elementary schools on the east side. It kind of sounds like that. Okay. I would just love to see it at Hemp Hill, Washington K-8, Jones Valley. I'm just naming some off the top of my head on the
We're
west
with
side.
you. We would like to see it
Arrington.
in all of the schools.
Have you guys tried fundraising, private dollars?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can confirm that with Isaac and follow back up.
Okay. No, I just asked because, more money from more resources means you can expand to different schools. Okay.
Yep.
Did you have a question? Yes, okay.
So, could we have the data that you have, that you've just told us verbally, like?
Yes, we'll make sure you get our annual
We have some
report.
handouts from some of the others, and even though I would prefer to get them before a meeting rather than after or during, I would still like to be able to take it home and read it tonight, or tomorrow night if it's not available today, so.
I'll get with Galvin after this meeting, and we'll make sure everybody gets a copy today.
Yeah, because I am interested in which schools have the programs and which schools don't have them. I'd be curious to know how you decide where to put it next. And presumably,
Yes, ma'am. I was gonna let you finish.
presumably you can share that information with us.
Yeah, so transparency, the school system selects the schools, and oftentimes they select them based on their own feeder patterns where they desire for these assets to be laid out. So the administration and IMC, we work directly with the input directly from the Birmingham City Schools.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
I mean, I do think financial education is important. I remember going off to college and realizing that I'd never filled out a check before, because I didn't have to.
Yeah.
And now, of course, nobody uses checks, but still, it was kind of shocking that I thought, gee, I wonder what you put on this line. And that wasn't very good. It just shows how little I knew. So I think it's important, and especially with these young people that are aspiring maybe to get a job and help their families out with expenses, you need to have some knowledge of money.
How to read your pay stub.
Yeah, how to keep it.
Yep.
And how to use it correctly, those little things. So, but I look forward to getting some data from you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was there a motion?
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next is item 15. This is a vendor agreement with Neighborly Software for a term up to 2 years to purchase a web-based software as a service, financial and project management and reporting software service for up to 32 users to assist the City of Birmingham's Community Development Department to oversee and manage grants in an amount not to exceed $249,600. Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Corey Stallworth. I serve as Senior Deputy Director of Community Development. And the item before you is to support our Neighborly software, which is actually our application portal for our CDBG applications, HOPWA, which is Housing of Persons with AIDS, that grant program, Emergency Solutions Grant, as well as it has been a portal for the emergency rental assistance. And so when you see the 32 users, that includes, of course, the personnel in our department that actually reviews the grants, as well as those agencies that are getting funding. This is how we manage their reporting requirements, as well as them submitting their invoices. So it's really how we run our operations in community development.
I was wondering, I was like 32, it's like there's 32 of y'all, but that was one of my questions. Councilor Abbott?
think I'm good. I think it would be great if y'all included that information in your description of what you're doing, and then you might not have to stand up here. You might get to go back to your office and have fun somewhere else. You
Will
know,
do.
because when these things are very short and to the point, we're left sitting here going, what the heck is this? And a more detailed description would help on almost every request we get. It's not just yours, it's all of them. Just write a paragraph instead of a sentence. You know, it's easy. But anyway, now that I understand what this is and who the 32 users are, because I was curious about that too, now I understand and I'm in favor of it, and I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes, thank you. Next item is item number 16. This is an agreement with the Sidewalk Film Center and Cinema to create a long-term sustainability plan. As long as, and also continuing to host the annual Sidewalk Film Festival. This is for a term of 1 year, not to exceed $10,000. Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Inman, and I serve as the mayor's office accountant. And I have before you Sidewalk Film Center, and they provide entertainment for the city. They bring cinema and film series and events and education. And this particular item is they have run into a challenge with playback equipment, and they provide rental for other different venues within the city, like for the Lyric and for the Alabama Theater. And it's based on the type of equipment that they have to have for their film media. Like she can explain it for you, but just generally, it's just providing equipment assistance for current challenges that they're having, so they'll be readily available for 2025. And I have Ms. Chloe Cook here. She's the executive director, and she can address any additional questions or information that you may have.
Okay, Counselor Abbott.
Okay, so back in the old days, they used projectors. What do you use now?
So we still use a projector.
Oh,
There's the-
microphone.
We still use projection equipment, but the type of projection equipment today versus the reels that people are, you know, when you think about a movie theater, you think about that big reel of film. Well, that's been out of the picture for a long time now, and we went to a DVD format, then a Blu-ray format, then a digital format, and now we're in what's called a serial locked digital format for a DCP projection system. It basically means the person that owns the film content will share that film content with you via a digital delivery service, essentially using the internet, but to a specific projector for which you provide the serial number, and it will play in no other projectors that have any other serial numbers. Well, we have those types of projectors in our cinema space at the lower level of the Pizitz building, but none of the venues that we utilize for our annual film festival have that type of technology. And they frankly don't need it because they are not playing new release films on a regular basis. The Alabama, the Carver, now that it's reopened, will occasionally play films, but they are typically not a Hollywood movie that's new release. So because of concerns around intellectual property, et cetera, those distribution companies and filmmakers will no longer mail to us physical media. This has changed dramatically in the time since COVID. And for 2025, what we're looking at is having to outfit every single one of our venues for our annual festival with this type of technology. To do that, we currently rent that equipment there isn't nobody in the state of Alabama that rents it. We rent that equipment from a company out of Missouri. They have to physically bring it here, temporarily install it in each venue, take it back with them. So we want to hire a consultant that will allow us to research what our options are from a technical standpoint so that we can continue hosting our event in the Historic Theater District. Without making this change, we'll be forced to take our event to a big box movie theater, Patton Creek or the Summit or wherever, and rent 6 to 12 of their screens for a short period of time. And we really don't want to leave downtown Birmingham, but this next step is going to be required for us to continue hosting our event in the theater district. So we made a request of the mayor for some assistance to help us do the research necessary and bring in the technical expertise for us to evaluate, should we be planning for a budget that involves renting this equipment year over year, or should we be planning for the purchase of this equipment? And just for frame of reference, I wanted to let you know, the rental cost on average per screen, if we rent DCP equipment, is between $12,000 and $18,000 per screen. So we typically use 10 to 12 screens at the festival. 2 of those are our own, where we already have this equipment. That means renting that equipment for all those other venues, versus a purchase price of between $60,000 and $200,000 per screen if we wanted to own the equipment. And so we've got to make some really tough decisions in the year ahead, so that we can hopefully continue our event in the Historic Theater District. Obviously, purchasing that equipment would be advantageous for the venues, because we would purchase it and have it installed in those venues on a permanent basis. It would be theirs to use, and it would just benefit us in the long term, because we would get to continue using it, versus renting it, where we're having to bring in technicians for it and that sort of thing. But there are many questions to figure out, and some of the venues may not even be equipped to allow a permanent installation of this type of equipment. So we've got to bring in an expert well beyond my technical prowess to help us figure that out, and we're hoping this will help cover some of those costs and keep us downtown.
You have any more questions?
Well, we certainly want you to stay downtown, I know that.
Yeah.
So you said that each one of these devices costs between $60,000 and $200,000?
Yes, to
So
purchase.
is the $60,000 one the Volkswagen version and the $200,000 is the Mercedes-Benz, or what?
Not exactly. It is more about the size and scale of the venue where you are going to install that projector. So for instance, our cinema, relatively small in terms of seating capacity and the actual distance from the projector to the screen. If you look at a venue like the Alabama Theater, much, much larger in scale, and you need a more powerful projector with more powerful bulbs, because that is still a part of the process. You are still casting an image with light. And in the Alabama Theater's case, the booth is at the absolute back of the facility, and of course the screen is at the absolute front. And so that's a more expensive projector versus, like, for instance, we use the Black Box Theater and Recital Hall at the Alabama School of Fine Arts as 2 of our venues. Those are much smaller rooms, less expensive equipment would be required. The Alabama, the Lyric, the Carver would be the most expensive to the sort of mid-range.
Okay, so so this $10,000 is just to hire a consultant?
It is to do research
It doesn't buy
and-
anything?
It's not purchasing
It's
equipment.
just determining which is the best way to go. And I was wondering, which you may not know, if you own the equipment and it sits for a year in between uses, does it
That is not
fall
advisable.
apart? I mean, does
Yeah.
it?
That's not advisable, which is why I said if we were to go the route of trying to fundraise and purchase this equipment, really we would have to do that with the intention of placing that equipment in each of the venues on a permanent basis and allowing them to use it. The projector itself benefits from regular use. The bulbs themselves, obviously, just like a light bulb in your house, they wear down over time and that image becomes less clear, which is not ideal, obviously, when you're in the business of projecting an image and the audience wants to see that in a clear way. So our hope would be that if we went into the community to fundraise, that this would be seen as not a benefit only for our event annually, downtown, but it would be beneficial to each of the venues because they would gain wider access to media that they can't typically utilize in their facilities. And I mean, I don't think that's particularly relevant to somebody like the Alabama School of Fine Arts and the Black Box Theater, primarily a student, production rehearsal space. But for the Alabama, the Lyric, and the Carver, it would be a real addition to their offerings. Several years ago for Magic City Classic Weekend, there was a sneak peek film opportunity, and the organizer booked the Medical Forum venue at BJCC, and they have great projection equipment and great audio, but they don't have DCP. And so, like 2 or 3 days beforehand, we had just opened the cinema and we got a call saying, is there any way you can accommodate this group? 'Cause there's just literally no other way to put that particular new film on the screen, and we were able to accommodate. And so I think some of the other venues in our historic theater district would find real benefit from that, if they were interested in it. Otherwise, if they're not interested in that, it would probably be more useful for us to continue renting equipment over the long term. Perhaps we buy 2 smaller pieces of equipment and rent those out to other people. As I mentioned, there's nobody in the state of Alabama that rents this equipment. It's pretty fragile, it's a little delicate. People don't like to mess with it, to be honest. You have to put on a protective suit to change out the bulbs. I mean, it's a very bizarre world that I didn't know anything about until 5 years ago when we built our own cinema space.
Wow. Well, I didn't know any of that, so certainly interesting. Maybe if you install these in some of the bigger locations, they can pay you every time they use it for something else, and then you could recoup your losses or your expenditures. Anyway, I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. You'll have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
All right. Quita, the memory's full on the recorder.
Uh-oh.
I know, I just saw it. Next item is item number 17. This is an agreement with the Sister City Commission of the City of Birmingham, under which Sister City shall assist in improving and enhancing the cultural and artistic exchange between the residents of Birmingham and corresponding sister city for a term of 1 year ending September 30th, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $150,000. Okay, good afternoon.
Great afternoon. To you all, my name is Ryan Jackson. I serve as Deputy Director for Governmental Affairs in the Mayor's Office, and before you is an item to help further support some of the programming being done by Birmingham Sister Cities in conjunction with the Mayor's Office, more intimately Governmental Affairs, and we're supporting them in several efforts, whether it be cultural engagement within our schools, having established an international development, not international development, but an international exchange program that's going on by way of Miles College's, a dual enrollment program that they're doing, as well as helping expand our economic development aspect when it comes to trips to Wales that'll be coming up as soon as tomorrow. So some of our team members from the city will be traveling with Birmingham Sister Cities to Wales to further develop that relationship, as well as Japan with our students. So this is just an item to further engage and support the work of Birmingham Sister Cities. If you have any additional questions, myself or our representatives from Birmingham Sister Cities will be glad to speak to this item.
Okay, Council Abbott?
Yes, so exactly what does the $150,000 buy?
Yeah, so you all want to speak to this? Okay, yeah, so so buy is a strong word, but
Well,
it definitely goes
What does it
to,
fund? What does it pay
so
for?
it's definitely, part of it is to help with the programming that's going on in conjunction with the work that's been done with Miles College. So we have approximately over 20 students who go to Miles College, take dual enrollment classes, they finish those courses, they are trained on cultural engagement. So some of the students are actually going to Japan, so this helps support some of the work or some of the finances that it takes to get these students and individuals over to Japan. Some of the efforts are going towards the trip towards Wales, and we're sending some of our economic development team members over there with them, and they bring this rich engagement back. We formed a friendship pact with the Welsh government, and so this helps continue that exchange. We have some businesses now that are at the Innovation Depot, and so Wales is interested in furthering their footprint within the city of Birmingham, and so these things go to support some of those efforts. Some of it goes into the supplies, but the work that they do, I can just assure you all, there's a lot of expense that comes out of it, supporting these students and supporting the operations of Birmingham sister cities. And so this is just our portion to assist them in these efforts as they stand up and continue to strengthen their organization. It goes to support their leadership that's there in the form of an interim director. So some of these things are listed, and you can only imagine that $150,000 won't complete all of this, but that's why we have other partners that have donated their services and time to further advance the mission of Birmingham Sister Cities and the city's role in this relationship.
Okay, so funding is used for travel for the students and for salaries for the people?
To support programming for the
No
students.
salaries? Not
No.
for salaries?
No, it's not going towards their salaries.
Okay, and then supplies?
Yes,
And who else is helping to fund this program? Because it sounds like there's a lot more going on than
Yes,
150 will buy.
yeah, Miles College has definitely stepped in and contributed a great deal. The bulk of the work goes towards this dual enrollment academy that was stood up in conjunction with Birmingham City Schools. They play a big role in the transportation that's going on to help defray costs. And then you have some partners that just choose to volunteer their services free of charge. In-kind services from these particular partners to help make this program come to life. This is the first year that this program has been stood up to further show the connectivity between the city schools, the city government, Birmingham Sister Cities, and to gain exposure for these great students within our school system.
Okay, so the funding comes from Miles College, the Birmingham City Schools, and other businesses in the city of Birmingham, or I guess in the area.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, Counselor.
Maybe we could just get some documentation from you.
Yes,
for the
sure.
program.
We'll definitely present you all with that information. We do apologize for not giving it to you in advance of this meeting.
Yeah, well, we can take it late. We're used to it. It's good for late night reading.
Well, I go to bed early, so early morning reading. But are there any counselors going to on the Wheels trip?
I don't believe that there are any counselors going on that trip.
Were we invited?
No, I don't believe that this particular trip was definitely headed up by the Wells government and them inviting the Civil Rights District and those members, but we can make sure that you all are involved and included and figure out how we can further bridge that gap. But
Yeah.
initially, this was an invite that was extended, and the only reason why our representatives are going is because they specifically asked for the Economic Development Director to come over so they can show him some things. So it wasn't an hour trip, but we can definitely make sure that we find ways to be more inclusive in this.
Yeah, I don't have nothing against Cornell going, but the face of City Hall is really the 10 of us. So,
Right.
it would just been nice to exchange with another government agency to see what they've done differently, what we've done similarly. That's kind of like the benefits of it.
Right.
So that's why, if y'all could just include us,
For
even
sure.
if nobody goes, it'll just still be nice.
Okay.
Well, and it's funny, when the Sister Cities people came to the council meeting the other day, I had just been wondering if Sister Cities even existed anymore, because we hear nothing.
Right.
And when Scotty Colson was the mayor's representative operating Sister Cities, we heard about it all the time.
Yes.
Maybe he was more gregarious, but he definitely wasn't secretive, because we heard from everybody and we saw the delegations that came over and we were informed about what was going on.
Right.
And now we're no longer informed to the point where I wondered if it still existed.
No, we can begin sharing those reports.
That's kind of sad if you
Yes,
think about it.
we'll take full ownership of that with the administration, and we'll begin to share those reports, because they do produce reports and are very inclusive in their meetings, and different things like that. So we'll take that on and we'll make sure that we continue to lift those reports up as they come in.
I think that would be excellent.
It would be, yeah. Because I'm proud of this, honestly, so I want to be able to be informed if somebody asks me a question about it.
Well, an informed council is a happy council.
I agree,
And an
Councilman.
uninformed one is kind of grumpy.
I'd rather have too much information to read.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you ask, yeah, for sure. You definitely deserve this information. We'll make sure to overwhelm you with it.
I believe you're
We
right.
don't have to do that, but we just want to be informed.
Yes, ma'am, for
We
sure.
want to know when someone asks us to approve money for something, we'd
Wanna be
like to have
informed
heard
about
of it before, and then we'd like to know what's going on.
I agree, Councilman.
It's fairly simple.
Yeah, well, at least the two of us. So is there a motion?
Definitely simple. Yeah.
Is there
Okay,
a
I
motion?
move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes.
Thank you so
And
much.
safe travels. You're on the wheels with them? Okay, safe travels. Okay. Item number 18 is a project agreement and forgivable loan between the city of Birmingham and the YMCA, under which the YMCA will develop the Habitat Village at the Northeast YMCA located at 6228 Red Lane Road, Birmingham, Alabama, 35215. This includes renovations of the existing YMCA in Roebuck, the constructions of 22 new Habitat single-family homes, a healthcare center, mental health and nutrition counseling, a family and community resource center providing state-funded pre-K and programs to support the surrounding neighborhood. Okay. Good
Corey
afternoon.
Sarworth again, Community Development. And so before you is a recommendation to support the YMCA in their expansion efforts at the Northeast Y. And so this is an innovative hub that they are developing there, along with a new community of affordable housing. And so as you saw, this will increase the North Y facility to 25,000 square feet. And it will provide first-class pre-K programs for youth, teens, and older adults. Also, a new partner will be joining on the site, Christ Health Center. And so this will be a new 5,000 square feet facility that'll be on site to help address inequities, health inequities in the community. Also, Impact Family Counseling will be on site as well. So you see this will be a community hub at the Northeast Y. Also, they have additional land on site where there was a pool that was operating previously and some green space as well that will be repositioned to build 22 single-family homes by Habitat. And so this is a very innovative model where these are resources for the communities as well as housing on site. And so we're recommending to support that development in the amount of $1 million, which will actually support the renovation of the Northeast Y. But that leverage will help us to obtain those 22 single-family homes as well. And that $1 million will be supported $500,000 by Community Development Block Grant funding and another $500,000 by ARP funding. And I do have Dan Powell and Terry Harville here with the Y if you have any additional questions.
Okay, Councilor Abbott?
Yes, I do have some questions. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Y building houses on their property. And so I find that interesting, and I wondered if the pool that's going to be demolished will be put elsewhere at the Y, or whether it will just go away.
Well, the pool has already gone away. It was obsolete, it was in disrepair, and it wasn't safe, so we closed it probably 5 or 6 years ago. You're right, the YMCA is not known for housing, nor is the YMCA known for mental health or pediatric health care. What we embarked upon about 6 years ago before COVID was how do we transform that YMCA, because it was really tired and suffered from a lot of disinvestment. And frankly, our volunteer board of directors decided that this is a time for the YMCA to make a statement that is not just a swim and gym. And we went about a process to determine what are the most significant unmet needs and health disparities and disparities in general. And we decided we were going to put together a program that really addressed inequities and disparities. And to your point, we're not skilled at housing, mental health, and other things, but we do have the ability to convene and bring in trusted partners. And so we chose Habitat, very trusted partner. Christ Health is going to put a world-class pediatric clinic there. And as Corey said, we're going to have Impact Family Counseling on site to do family counseling and preventive, but also crisis work, as well as our pre-K center. So what we're doing is we're changing the model of a YMCA. We have the ability to do something big and bold and transformational. So you're absolutely right. These are not core issues, but our partners have expertise that we don't. We were very careful in selecting people that had that trust and those skills that could help us sustain this vision for a long term. So that's the beauty of the YMCA, is we're able to build collaborations and partnership with other organizations to bring something together for the community and, you know, have a transformational impact, but also it's a replicable model that we can pass around all over the city. Did that answer your question?
It did, and I'm pretty amazed.
It did or did not?
It did.
Okay.
And I'm pretty amazed at what you're doing, because you're right, it is a big transformation since the days when I got my senior life-saving certificate at
We
the
need
Y.
lifeguards too, by the way.
Yeah, so still, this is pretty amazing. So I'm keenly interested in what you're doing. And I'm also interested in knowing if it would be expanding to any other YMCA locations that may have different kinds of issues, but they still have issues.
Yes.
So,
The beauty about this is we're at 88 acres that were underutilized.
8?
Right, so this is a condensed project. If you think about the density, it is high, but it also meets all the codes and regulations. But we had this property, we owned it, so we can control it. And in one sense, we're acting as the master developer. So we're the convening and the developer, all those partners, and we have written agreements from all the partners to do their part. For example, we're building the shell, but Christ Health will come in and finish it to meet their medical specs. We're preparing all the lots and all the infrastructure for Habitat to come in and build a home. And we met with them today, and they are going to be ready by February to build their first homes. So we're really staged and ready to go. We have put together a capital stack of about $9.4 million on our original budget of $6 million. Inflation and COVID and all that just drove all the costs up. We've raised $4 million from the private sector through philanthropy, new market tax credits for $2 million, another $2 million from Jefferson County. We have our own skin in the game from about $1 million of our own sources, and because of inflation, we lack $1 million.
and so when Habitat starts building the houses, I know that the city council will be invited to come help.
Yes,
That'd be fun.
I
Be
know,
fun.
you and I need a picture.
we have a hammer just for you.
Yes, well, I like hammers. Okay, well, thank you. I think that answers my question.
Thank you.
Yeah, that made me think about the picture you have of my mom where you guys were building Habitat for Humanity homes.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was an ability house.
So I have a couple of questions. How many kids will you be able to service in the pre-K program? Do you know?
The pre-K program?
Yes.
So the pre-K program that we have is the Alabama First Class Pre-K, and so their limit is 18 per classroom. So that number is set by them.
So that's how many classes?
So right now we have one classroom, and we are hoping that they will give us permission to do a second classroom. The other childcare that we'll do at this facility is our traditional school-age childcare. So we serve around 150 children right now in summer day camp. Well, actually 175 in summer day camp, around 130 in after-school care. Right now, we're serving about 300 inside of the schools with our Y Achievers program. And we are hoping to have an influx of teams that we don't have the capacity to have inside the building right now. We're serving our teenagers through our youth and government program, et cetera, inside of the schools. But quite frankly, with this renovation, what it will allow us to do is have a space that teens will find cool to come inside, because right now teens don't find it cool to come to the same place they did after school care in. And so we'll have the proper technology, the proper spaces to be able to appropriately do those programs in this same facility, but just in the new model.
Gotcha. And then you have a clinic as well that's gonna be in there? Did I hear that right?
Christ Health Center is doing a pediatric clinic, so They are primarily building to serve children, but they have committed that if there are parents and other family members who need services, they will not turn them away. The beauty about Christ Health Center is that they'll be able to see children regardless of their ability to pay or have insurance, because that's their model. And so right now, if you have a child in crisis on the east side, you've got to go all the way to Children's Hospital downtown.
Well, that's
Ask
a
me how
long
I know.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many, kids do you think they'll be able to service?
You know that model?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
don't know.
recall? Okay, I was
We
just
have that,
interested.
I just don't recall.
Okay, because I know they're in Woodlawn, right?
Woodlawn,
Yeah, and they service a lot of people. And then what would be the average cost of the homes? Have you determined that
We
yet?
met today, and they estimate the current cost of a home would be about $240,000.
Okay.
It's zero interest, so it shaves about $800, $900 off of your monthly payment.
Yeah,
They will have their own selection criteria to ensure that they're low and moderate income families.
okay.
One of the things we believe is home ownership stabilizes community
Right,
versus rental and transient. So that's one of the beauty of this being transformational, is it creates stability.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys. Even though I grew up on the west side, I grew up going to this Y, from playing soccer to playing basketball. I'm surprised about the teams because I used to see so many people playing basketball there, the basketball tournament. So I've, that Y has a special place in my heart. So I'm excited to see that. Also, is this where the soccer fields used to be? Do y'all still use the soccer fields, or is that where you're going to be building
We
on?
preserve the soccer field.
Okay.
So it's I wish I brought a design, but it's, the roads are just kind of meander. There's a couple cul-de-sacs, so it's
Yeah.
actually a little bit neighborhood or subdivision of concept. But
Okay.
we're gonna preserve the ball field.
Okay, that's going to be nice. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see it.
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you.
Thank
I love
you.
the way you guys have been able to fundraise and put the money together. I really appreciate that you're coming to us for the last bit, because a lot
It
of
is the
times.
last bit.
Yeah, sometimes people come to us for all the funding,
My wife
so.
won't let me write another check.
Yeah, right. Thank you, guys. Next item is item number 20.
Thank you.
Yes, this is for the city to complete a grant with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office of Community Planning and Development Pathways to removing obstacles to housing, an amount up to $7 million. This will identify and remove barriers to affordable housing production and preservation with no matching funds due from the city. Okay?
Yes, and so before you is a recommendation to allow us to apply for this grant. If you recall, we did apply earlier this year, and so we were not awarded, but we had a great debriefing with HUD to really walk through some of the things that they wanted to see, which they wanted to see some more concrete projects instead of like high-level categories of how we would allocate the money, which is fine because we have a lot of projects that we need to fund. And so we've since went back to the table and we're working with Levitate to redo our proposal. And so we would be looking to utilize the $7 million to support our our Magic City Community Champions cohort, which is a cohort where we support CDCs, community development corporations across the city, and giving them technical assistance to be able to go out and do work like what the Y is doing. Also, to be able to support our Magic City Affordable Housing Trust, which we're still seeking legislation to support that. But this monies could help seed that housing trust once we get it set up. Also, Home for All, which you're aware of, this funding could help with the construction of those sites. As well as to help with the affordable housing fast lane. So working with our planning and engineering department, they already have the skeleton for that, but this could help with software requirements for folks to apply for permits and anything to help with their capacity for that. And any other technical assistance that we may need as a city and department to be able to support affordable housing development. So we're trying to be innovative in identifying other funding sources outside of community development block grant and home funds because it takes more than that to produce the amount of housing that we need in the city. Any questions?
Council Abbott?
Especially at the rate we demolish pre-1940s housing. for which we then don't get any CDBG funds. So that's an issue to me. Tell me the name of the Magic City, whatever it was. that
Community
came-
cohort
Oh, the Magic City Community Champions.
champions.
So that's a new program that we launched this year, where we identified 6 either existing community development corporations or groups that are interested in becoming a community development corporation. And so we're working with them and Enterprise Partners, which is a national partner, to help build their capacity. And the idea behind that program is that we develop organizations like Wood Yulan United that can sit in certain districts or certain neighborhoods and help lead the revitalization efforts, because we just want to replicate as many Woodlawn Uniteds as possible.
Okay. I knew I kept hearing we had a housing shortage. You'd never know it from the short-term rental ordinance, would you?
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Talking to myself, maybe. But we have a housing shortage.
Yes.
I knew I'd heard that here in City Hall.
Yes, that's correct. And so that's a part of this effort here, is to support that.
Good, well, thank you.
What barriers are you experiencing with the Affordable Housing Trust?
So the legislation was not picked up this year, so.
Okay, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to try again next time to work through that. Also, it's going to take some other monies other than the city seeding it, so that it can be sustainable and grow throughout the years. And so we want to be able to identify partners that can seed into this housing trust and other programs and grants.
What other cities have affordable housing trusts?
Nashville has an affordable housing
Okay.
trust. I
Okay.
believe Pittsburgh, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, was some of the other examples.
Okay, just trying to see.
There are many
how,
cities though that
Yeah.
have.
just trying to see how we can help support you all. What does affordable housing fast lane? What does that look like?
So the affordable housing fast lane will actually be technical assistance to help support developers to get through our myriad of approvals that we have at the city,
Gotcha,
whether it's
okay.
subdivision or permitting,
Gotcha, okay.
zoning, all of that.
Okay.
Many of times, if there's not like a coordinated effort, they get hung up on these different approvals, and it delays development, which costs money. So instead of being able to move forward in a couple of months, the delays turn into a year or 2 years, and now the cost has went up for development.
Yeah, that's great. I remember going to a home builders meeting a few years ago, and they talked about that, how long it took for them to get through the permit process. So I'm happy to hear that. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, red tape avoidance. No, I have no more questions. I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the item passes. Thank you, Corey. I think we're done with you, Corey. Item number 22, a contract for sale of real estate between the City of Birmingham and Jones Group, under which the city will sell 11 acres located in the Daniel Payne Industrial Park to Jones Group for a purchase price of $40,000 per acre for an estimate total purchase price of $440,000.
Good afternoon, councilors.
Good afternoon.
Today, my name is Janice James Dothert. I serve as real estate manager in the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. This afternoon, we're asking your support for the sale of the 11 acres to the Jones Group in the Daniel Payne Industrial Park. The Jones Group is a licensed Alabama general contractor in underground piping and water lines. They're also a subcontractor in drywall metal studs. If you may recall, we had the Jones Group here a couple of years ago. They were looking to acquire these old Scott School, but after doing their due diligence in that area, they found that it was gonna be cost prohibitive to try to repurpose that property. And they've been looking throughout the city, and so they finally decided that it's best to build their own headquarters and warehouse. And so we have the property there at Daniel Payne, and, I have Mr. Jones, the president, Tony Jones is the president of the company that's here with me today that could answer any questions you may have or concerns.
Okay, Counselor Abbott?
The $40,000 per acre price, is that like just a standard price that we charge in the Daniel Payne?
Right, it's consistent, with the sales that's gone before in the past, in previous sales that we've had, yes.
So you don't have to do an appraisal every time you want to sell an acre
Oh,
in an
no.
industrial park? You
That's
just
correct.
have a standard price,
Price, mhm.
I guess unless it's on a hill.
Right, and in
Might
this
get a
case, he has a
discount.
lot of, it's the property is heavily vegetated, so he has a lot of, dirt movement and tree removal that they have to do to get started on that property to build.
Okay, and the businesses that you're in, Mr. Johnson, underground piping, and what were some of the other services you offer?
Sure. I'm Anthony Jones, owner of Jones Group.
Jones, I'm sorry.
We actually have 3 divisions in the company. We're general contractors in the states of Alabama and Mississippi for underground utilities. What that means is that we put power in the ground for Alabama Power, Mississippi Power, taking down overhead power lines. We also do work for Birmingham Water Works. We put in water mains and services to homes. That's our utility division. The second division is we have a construction division. We've worked every day for the last 6 years as a subcontractor under Braswell and Gorey. We've done projects. If you've been to the football stadium, we did the second floor, all of the suites. We just finished the second floor of Cooper Green Hospital over on 6th Avenue South. That's the construction division. We have a third safety and security division. We finished a contract last year with the Birmingham Public School System by which they have an alternative school, and they had students repeating the same violations going back and forth to the school. We put together a program to drop that, and the repeating students dropped by 70%. So those are the 3 divisions in the company.
Wow, y'all are busy guys. So you don't do anything for the gas company, but you help the Alabama Power or the power companies and the waterworks.
Our business plan points towards doing gas, but we're going to first get a facility, get our own home base, stay good at what we do, and then, of course, point towards gas.
Okay, see if you can save some trees.
Okay.
At least a handful.
Right.
Those are all my questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you, guys. Council Abbott, can we do like a 3-minute recess? I have to go to the restroom. Thank you. Next item is item number 23. This was between the city and Tessa Commercial Real Estate, under which they will undertake a project to renovate the ground floor of the Burger Phillips building located at 1914 3rd Avenue North, Suite 430. This is anticipated to create at least one new job that pays a livable wage, generate new sales and use tax, occupational tax, and business license revenue to the city. The city has agreed to a RISE RLF in the amount of $25,000 in form of a forgivable loan.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Once again, my name is Cornell Wesley. I proudly serve as the Director for the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. This redeveloped opportunity brings two unique teams with deep commercial real estate experience and a heart for Birmingham together under one roof, with the intent of creating what we will call a multiplier effect that will leverage their respective skills to accelerate investment across the city of Birmingham. In doing so, this project will, among other things, activate a space that has been vacant for 20 years, create a one-of-a-kind showcase space for Birmingham designed to attract national investors, and that will be available for use by city and other groups as available, and enhance a major pedestrian corridor connecting 20th Street to the theater district. Other notable things to mention is that Tessa and Opal are at the forefront of the intersection of impact and commercial real estate, and their respective track records suggest so. Tessa, founded in 2020, is one of the very few women-owned brokerage and development firms in the state of Alabama, and more than 70% of its $80 million in deal volume is in Birmingham. 22% of Tessa's current projects are minority-owned or led, and 31% of those projects are woman-owned or led. Couple notables around their impact. Again, the total capital investment of this, again, space that has been vacant for 20 years is just under $2 million, $1.9 million. Current FTE, current full-time employees, is 4, with plans to add, with an average salary of about $191,000. Estimated annual sales for the first full year of development and project sales out for the next 5 years if possible. So Tessa Commercial does not owe sales tax. They pay 1% occupational tax to the city of Birmingham, and they expect to hire an additional 5 FTEs. I'm joined today by Meredith Calhoun, who is the CEO of Tessa Commercial. Happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, Councilor Abbott?
Okay, was that Meredith
Yes.
Calhoun? Okay, so this is a female-owned company, and there are currently 4 employees, and there might be one more?
Yes, we have 4 employees at Tessa Commercial Real Estate, and Opal, or Opportunity Alabama, was another business that was mentioned, and they also have, I think it's around 8 to 10 FTEs. At Tessa, we plan to at least bring on another 2 in the next year or 2. We really expect 5 over the next 5 years.
5 new employees?
New, yes.
Okay, we ought to change this 1 to 5. Okay, so you're a brokerage and development company, so you're going to go out and find opportunities to develop, like, what will you do? Just find somebody and let them build something, or?
Yes, great question. So the purpose or the why around founding Tessa in 2020, after spending over 13 years with Corporate Realty here in Birmingham, was to be able to work on redevelopment projects here in the city. So we do want to find blighted or underutilized assets and reimagine how they could be used and serve the city. We do that for tenants, not necessarily speculatively. So we were one of our tenants to do that for, and then we have others in the pipeline right now. With regard to the brokerage services that we provide, we really are focused on, as you heard Mr. Wesley say, nonprofits, woman-owned, minority-owned businesses. The real focus for us is on bringing opportunities in real estate investment to a completely different set of investors than what I've typically seen in my career in commercial real estate. And that would include more minorities, more women, more people of color. So that's our why in Tessa.
But if someone that didn't fit that criteria came in the door and wanted you to help them, you wouldn't turn them away.
We do help them, absolutely. We love to work on a real estate project where we are bringing value. That really is where we shine and where we want to work, and so we work with everyone.
I keep on waiting for something to move into Yieldings. It must have been vacant for 50 years. I mean, but anyway, so I didn't realize how long Burger Phillips' ground floor had been vacant, but the rest of the building is occupied.
That is correct. Right. So there are 32 residential units that stand above the one commercial unit that is on the ground floor that has been vacant and unsold by the developer who redeveloped the department store into first apartments and then converted to condominiums. So there's been pop-ups and there's been different things like that, but nothing. As a very young broker, I have taken so many people when I was a young broker. That was a minute ago. I'm sorry, yeah, whatever. So I've taken a lot of clients through this space, and it's just an incredibly challenging space. It's very deep. It does not have a lot of windows. They built mezzanines into it. There's plumbing that's running, that serves the residential units above. It's just super challenging. So we, felt like we were the right team to take on meeting those challenges and making the investment. And it really is a spot that has been a dark spot in the middle of this block for a lot of years.
Well, it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Those are my questions.
I don't have any questions. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Item number 24, this is a charter customer pilot program with Axon Enterprise, under which the Birmingham Fire and Rescue Service will trial and evaluate Axon trial kits, which include a body and vehicle camera system for a 3-month trial period and no cost to the city. We always like to hear that. Okay. Hey, Chief.
Good afternoon. Corey Moon. I serve as the Fire Chief of Birmingham Fire and Rescue Service. And as you stated, the item before you is for us to do a trial with Axon for body cameras and vehicle camera systems. This trial will include 6 body-worn cameras. Those 6 body-worn cameras will go to our EMS supervisors. There's 3. There's 1 on each shift. The fire investigators, there's 3, 1 on each shift. And then they'll also include a vehicle camera that will go to one of our operational battalion chiefs. And these cameras could assist us with our quality assurance and quality improvement program, as well as our training and some of our incident scene management. So it's something to try to help give us more information on improving our patient care and our safety for our personnel. And as you stated, there's no cost to the city, and it will be a 3-month trial.
I was kind of wondering what the fire department needed body-worn cameras for, but now I understand. It makes sense.
So what happens after the trial period?
So the trial will be an evaluation to see if it's feasible for us, and then we'll see how far we would like to expand it, see what the cost will be, and just kind of do a risk-benefit analysis on if it's something that's feasible for us as a city and department.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I move that we approve this item.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next is item 25. Where's Councilor Williams? Item 25 is Family Fun Center project at Birmingham Crossplex. Number 1, funding agreement among the City of Birmingham, PACE Board, which is the Public Athletic, Cultural, and Entertainment Facilities Board of the City of Birmingham, and PNC Bank National Association, under which the city will pay the principal of and interest on revenue bond Series 2024 PNC-1 to be issued by the PACE Board to PNC Bank in an expected principal amount which will not exceed $15 million to pay the cost of capital improvements to the Crossplex site to develop a family fun center. Number 2, project lease agreement between the city and the PACE Board in connection with the Family Fun Center project, under which the city will lease a portion of the Crossplex site to the PACE Board in connection with the Family Fun Center project. And number 3, indenture to be executed and delivered by the PACE Board to PNC Bank in connection with the issuance of the revenue bond. That was long.
Well, once again, my name is Cornel Wesley, serve as the Director for the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. So this is somewhat exciting and probably somewhat boring because this is well beyond my expertise in terms of explanation. Here's what I can say, is that this is the same mechanism that has been used historically for projects like the Regents Field and Rickwood. And so we are now to the point of exciting getting close to really breaking ground, hopefully in the very short future on this project. I'm joined by Attorney Stanley, who can give you more technical answers around the PACE function and the setup, et cetera. But effectively, this is the infrastructure that's been historically put in place for these levels of projects.
Yeah, Attorney Stanley, can you explain that with involving the PACE Board?
Yeah, and as Director Wesley said, this is the model we used almost exactly for the Regions Field improvements that we just did in connection with the Major League Baseball. It's also very similar to the model used for the Regions Field construction. The PACE Board has the advantage of having some flexibility and are able to, for example, enter into contracts without having to go through the bid process, which saves time and money. So that's why that structure is being used in particular. It's within their purview to issue bonds, to provide the financing for this, and then to execute contracts, again, without having to go through a bid process.
Okay. Council Abbott?
Well, one thing about longevity is you have had some experiences. Now, the Regents Field project didn't turn out so well.
Really?
We had all those millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of overspending. So, who is going to be in charge of overseeing all of this so that that doesn't happen again?
Well, there's three, and that's a great question. So the enterprise has been working collaboratively to ensure that those things don't happen. So not only will this particular project require oversight from IEO, but also Capital Projects, who has been extremely key in this whole project. And then finally, from the council's recommendation to have construction management as a part of this, we do have a CM on board who will also provide another layer of oversight to ensure that there's no overspending.
I have two things to add, Madam Chairwoman. Good afternoon, good to see you. Ms. Abbott, good to see you as well. Two things that are important. One is that I think reporting is extremely important. So we want to create a process where we do some form of reporting, not just to your committee, but to the council as a whole, so you can keep up with the project in real time. Not when something happens and you're like, oh, why didn't you tell us? So in real time, active reporting. I think this is something really important. It's an intangible, but I think it's a very important intangible. This is a new PACE board with new members who are people, I think I put them in the category of understanding their role, of the fiduciary duty, of transparency, accountability, and making sure things work the way they're supposed to. So I'm confident actually in the people that exist there as well.
Well, that's good. And certainly we learned a lesson, I hope. From, I don't care how many sinkholes, there was just overspending and willy-nilly all over everywhere mess with Regents Field. Now, it ended up looking nice, but we spent $8 million that we weren't planning on spending. So we just, I want us to have a grip, because there's nothing that looks worse than doing the same thing twice when it was a really, really bad thing to do. you know, and of course, the council was advised that we had to approve the $8 million of overspending because they did build Regions Field. So, you know.
Yeah, so the unique thing is that the bulk of the work was done on the front end in terms of site preparedness and the pre-engineering and the pre-construction things that was before you months ago. And so that mitigated a lot of some of those what could happen or in those unpredictable elements. And again, we're walking with capital projects along with the development team, the construction management team, to prepare for any of those sorts of things. To that effect, we baked in a little bit of contingency or a little bit of wiggle room in the event there's something we did not discover. But we feel fully confident due to the due diligence that was done on the front end that the design and the schematic as presented will fall in line with the budget that will be before you.
And I would pray for no sinkholes. The construction management team is who? Who is it?
RPG Group that's been before you and has been presenting the updates for the last several months. The Riddle Property Group.
What other projects have they done? You talking about Caraway?
No, they are not affiliated with Caraway.
What other projects have they done for us?
This will be their first project for the city.
Okay, where else have they built?
All over Atlanta.
All over Atlanta?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, what exactly in Atlanta, do you know?
I'm sorry?
What have they built exactly in Atlanta?
Well, they're not the builder,
Okay.
so they're a construction management
Construction
team.
management,
That
okay.
means they are going to be, their sole function is to ensure that that general contractor
Okay.
stays within the budget constraints that we have.
How long have they been operating?
Over a decade.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
good. They got some good history.
And what projects did you say they've done construction management services on?
Well, they are a GC. They are acting in the function of construction management for us. We have not, the PACE Board has not chosen a general contractor yet. That is forthcoming. This mechanism had to take place first.
Yeah, my question was, what projects have they served as construction management for?
Several
Not
projects in
here,
Atlanta.
Not here, but in
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am. A major redevelopment of a housing project. I can't speak to.
Well, okay, if you don't know, maybe you
I
can
will.
just
I'll
send
get you.
us a
I'll give you some
list.
examples.
Yeah,
Certainly.
because we don't have to know as long as you promise you'll give us the information.
Yes, ma'am. I'll share all of that information.
It might take research.
We'll share that information with you.
Okay. And the funding source is coming from the debt issuance proceeds from the PACE, okay. Yeah.
Have those already been sold?
These approvals are part of the process, and the PACE Board has to meet to their approvals as well.
Okay, so will this come back before the council repeatedly for different approvals? Or is this it?
Again, that's one of the benefits using the PACE Board. We won't have to keep coming back to the council for other approvals to actually execute the construction and the development. That'll be PACE Board contracts.
Okay, but we'll receive like monthly reports so that we aren't in the dark.
Yes.
And there won't be any surprises at the end.
No, ma'am.
So I will say this little nugget about the Family Fun Center project, and Mr. Mayor, this is for you too, about making sure it is secure and safe. I do remember, I'm not totally young, but I remember they shut down a skating rink, for example, due to violence, and they shut down something else that the council did. So I just want to make sure it's secure because I don't want anybody to feel.
I think a couple things that are very important here. There's actually pressure to get this right. This is not one of those things that's 100% privately owned, right? This is something that we're creating for our families
Right.
on purpose. If we don't get anything right, we have to get the public safety aspect of this right. So for us, we're overly committed to it. In the ideal world, what's going to, not in the ideal world, in a real world, what's
Yeah.
going to happen We're gonna get through this phase of construction. And then, well prior to open, but in a window prior to opening, there's this conversation about one, picking an actual security company, and then in partnership with the city of Birmingham, what does this public safety plan look like?
Yeah, okay.
Exterior, ingress, egress, interior, et cetera. I'll start with the following. I don't care how anybody feels about it. But we've gotten to a point where to keep people safe, if you want to walk in that building, metal detectors. And I'm very comfortable with that
Yes,
because we need to keep our families safe.
Yes.
This is literally the key term here is families. So we want children to be safe. We want grannies who bring their grandchildren to be safe. We want mama, big mama, cousin. We want everybody to be safe.
right,
That's extremely important to us and something that we're taking personal and are committed to making happen. But the exterior piece is right. I mean, we're coming off a weekend of considering how do you make the exterior,
yeah.
the outdoor space work from a safety standpoint too.
Yeah.
But I'm confident in conjunction with a third-party company whose only business is safety in
Yes.
partnership with the city of Birmingham. The answer will be figured out from professional people.
Okay, good, 'cause especially the external piece, because, a lot of times it happens afterwards, after a place closed, teenagers congregate, and it's more just, and I thought about this before this weekend, just remembering just how things are, but I'm excited for this, and hopefully we can have it where the teenagers, if we can't, the schools give them bus routes there, because I've heard complaint from teenagers saying like, oh, I don't have transportation to like the movie theater, but I think it's just, they just don't know, so
Absolutely.
I think that'd be good.
And he was just telling me, I think part of the exterior and the ingress, egress as it relates to how to pull up and be dropped off or pull up and park and walk in, they're making it safe as well as far as
Good.
how your ability to just be able to drive up in front of the building as
Yeah.
well. So there's a lot of design in mind,
Okay, good.
particularly on the exterior about safety, acknowledging that as a big space on the
Yeah.
exterior and parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
We got these giant magnets, and you walk through them, and they just take everything metal away from you. It would be dramatic.
It'll be
You get all your
helpful.
money too. But.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Okay, so the one thing we're gonna get is Mr. Wesley's gonna provide us with names of projects that were
Yeah.
managed by RPG in Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am.
That being said, I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That project passes. Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Last item is item number 26. This is for the Community Resource Services Division to host the 99 Neighborhoods Picnic at Railroad Park and there needs to be a change of the date, is September 29th, 2024. That's this Sunday. There will be no cost to attend the event. This will include drinks and snacks to the attendees. The event is designed to increase goodwill in the city, improve communication, establish a repertoire with the public and core constituents, and improve quality of life throughout the city. So this is for their annual picnic at the park.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Alice Williams, and I serve as Deputy Director of Community Resource Services. I did want to make a correction to the item. The date of the event is September 29th, Sunday, September 29th, from
You
12
said
to
that,
5.
yeah.
I did that.
We got you.
Okay, the mayor was distracting me.
I know, Randall, you're gonna get kicked out. I mean, Mr. Mayor, you're gonna get kicked out. It says the total amount to be expended for the program shall not to see a total of 2,500. What's that for?
And that's just incidental costs. Most of the costs are covered, but we just want to make sure we have funding available.
Okay,
Funding available in the event that there are some permitting issues or anything like that. Most of our partners carry most of the costs, but I just like to be safe in the days prior to the event.
right, okay. Counselor Abbott.
Okay, so you're going to have drinks and snacks. That comes out of the $2,500? No, ma'am, it comes from our partners. Every year for 4 years, we have partners that do most of the expenses, but I just like to put something aside just in the event that some of our permitting doesn't get approved or we have to buy extra beverages because we have people from all over the city. So I've never had to touch our money. I just make sure we have something just in the event something occurs. Okay, and if it pours down rain or some other bad weather event, does it go on anyway, or Yes, does it get ma'am. reprogrammed? And
So it normally we haven't had any bad weather. Like I said, this is our 4th year, and so we're praying that we don't have bad weather. But we normally have about 5,000 so people coming out, and you should have received your invitation from Camille. We did. So hopefully y'all will come out as well. But all 99 neighborhoods are represented, and they're also honored during this event as well. Yes, I love interacting with them at the picnic.
Yes,
And eating, it's actually barbecue usually.
yes.
It's not
People
just a
Wiggly
little snack.
mostly does that too, does the food sponsoring. So we have a number of partners, but we just like to make sure we're not missing out anything on the last few minutes because we know we can't spend that way. So I just like to be covered.
Right, okay.
Okay, and what time does it start?
12 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
12 to 5. Okay, I move approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That item passes. Thank you, Alice, for
Thank you.
waiting. We don't have any old or new business. The next Budget and Finance Committee meeting will be on Monday, October 14th at 3:30 PM. And there's a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Ms. Council.